Good afternoon. Michael Johnson over here at Pristine Acupuncture and Wellness. Thanks for tuning in this week. It's going to be a great week. We're going to be talking about arthritis this week, different types of arthritis, what it is, what you can do about it. And so today I want to start with osteoarthritis, which is the one that is probably the most common and the one that most of the people know about. So basically, you end up with this wear and tear. You see it a lot with people who have had repetitive motions, people who do a lot with their hands or their arms over and over and over again. And at first, it's not a big deal, but then over decades and decades of overuse, it becomes a big deal. You get pain, you get stiffness, is usually actually the first symptom. And then you'll get pain, and you'll see people, especially if it's in their hands, they're moving their hands. And what ends up happening is it breaks down that cartilage that cushions. And as it breaks down, then you end up with a lot of pain. You end up with difficulty moving different joints, and it can happen in any joint that you overuse. Eventually, what can happen is it can even cause deformities where you end up with, bones sticking out where it's not supposed to be sticking out. But for a lot of people, they don't even realize they have it yet. It starts with just stiffness. And so a lot of times, even in the spine, people won't realize that there's arthritis there because it is basically wear and tear over and over again, plus injury in an area. And you end up with these little, like osteophytes, you end up with these little pieces of bone that end up pushing on things that they're not supposed to push on. And if you do that, then you end up with pain. Now, I'll tell a story to talk about more what we're talking about here with osteoarthritis. Back in the old days, everybody talks about the old days. I used to spend a lot of time actually in Western North Carolina. My grandmother was one of my favorite people in the world, and I miss her still. And she had stiffness in her fingers, and I never thought about it because she had used her fingers all her life for, shucking beans, shucking corn, canning, all the stuff that somebody does on a farm on a regular basis, and or in a garden, and so what ended up happening is, you'd see her kind of bend her fingers, and it's because there was stiffness in there, and eventually, it turned to pain. Eventually, the hands get all gnarled, which you've seen before. And most of the time, doctors don't actually have a whole lot of solution for what to do. It's usually anti-inflammatories for the pain and the inflammation, but it doesn't actually fix anything. It does reduce symptoms, which at some point is the goal, is just to reduce those symptoms. And so that's in my life what I've seen with arthritis. And then in my own experience, with my own injuries, I've had multiple car wrecks. I've had, a lot of wear and tear injuries where I used to be a lot heavier. And I have arthritis around my spine, on the neck, in the back. And so I have little bone spurs that are sticking out from that arthritis. And so these are just some things that can happen when you have this long-term arthritis that nothing, this long-term wear and tear that turns into arthritis and turns into stiffness. In future videos, we're going to talk about what you can do. And it's not just going to be acupuncture, though that will come into it, of course. But there are things you can do at home naturally to be able to help these that don't involve, anti-inflammatories that are going to cause a lot of issues. Too much Tylenol can cause a lot of issues. And so we're going to look at some natural solutions. So tune in this week. It's going to be a very good week. And tomorrow we start talking about osteoarthritis and what you can do. Thanks.